So I have
Okay.
a question.
Yeah.
Say if you did make that child directory a Git repository, or I'm sorry, actually, now that you made this child directory inside of the demos directory, does when you push that demos directory up to GitHub, does it also push the child directory one up also, since it's a child of it?
Yeah, so you want, and let me just kind of show you it this way. So I'm going to CD back. So in your week 1 directory, okay, don't do this. I'm just going to do a git in it. You should never see in your week 1 directory this git master. There should not be a you should not have a repository in your week 1 directory. All right, so I'm going to remove that. And you should never have, especially at higher levels, like your DPL or your desktop. Like if you have a git, if you see like this on your desktop, and you're confused what to do, just come talk to me or Michael. Like you want to remove that. It's just, you just need to remove that folder. That's how you get rid of it. So that's the first thing. So you should never have that git master in like your desktop or in your DPL folder or in like your week 1 directory. Like, ooh, that's bad. I should remove it. rm-r.git. Okay, so what you would do, let's say like I would make, you'd have some, homework. You'd have some homework folder. Oh my gosh, okay, CD. Now this is where, this would be your, where you have your repo. Now this might have multiple folders within it, but all of the changes that live in this homework directory are going to be tracked by this repo. So any child, it's like, this is like the father and mother of all the subdirectories and their subdirectories. I mean, let me just show you like what a Rails project looks like. If I make a Rails project, so I did this, and this won't work for you because you don't have Rails set up, but I did a Rails new app. This is going to create a Rails project. It's going to take a second to build. I CD into that app. This one already has, just by default, Rails has, it gives you a Git repository. And notice how they're calling their branch main. So you'll see this switch between main and master. So they're the same thing. Well, they're different, but this would be, so if it was main, you just do a Git push origin main. But if I open this up in code, like this is the directory app, and then this is all of the folders inside of that. Oh wait, no, sorry, that's not the one I want to do. Oh, reinitialize that. Okay, that was the wrong command, but yeah, so here's the app folder, and then inside of there's like assets, there's configs. I could go within one of these, change that file. That's going to go into that Git history of this one repo. So all of these files and folders are, since they live within this directory, they're all going to be tracked by that one repo. Cool. So going back to my demos, yeah, now this has its own repo. So I can create many folders within this. Just none of those folders should have their own repository. Just need one. Cool. What's something else I would need to do with as far as Git is concerned? Or in GitHub? Like if I start, let's say I start making changes. Let's just go through and come into this array file and make a change. Let's make an array, let nums equal 10, 20, 30, 40. And let's actually do a console.log. So I can run this by saying node and then the name of the file. Cool. So I can make a change. I can save it in VS Code. I can do a git add dot, a git commit dash m. And then that one goes away. So this is saved, or that has been committed to Git. But what is still kind of missing with this?
Do we need to create a Git repository?
Yeah. So this, I can use Git without GitHub. I can do all my adding and committing, and I can kind of get this history, but I can't push up to GitHub. So GitHub is like that really, so they're two different things. Git and GitHub are two different things. GitHub is the thing that allows me to push my code up to the internet. So if my computer blows up, I can just get a new computer and clone down that project. If I'm just doing commits in Git and my computer blows up, then my code's gone. Or if I want to collaborate with someone, I can't. Yeah, that's why we need GitHub. So let's go to GitHub. New repository. JS demos, whatever you want to call this. We are going to go back to that testing file or folder eventually today, but I wanted just to get, I like just doing more GitHub stuff, just so it starts to just become like muscle memory. Cool. So we can do a git remote add origin. So there are these two other steps. So let me just explain what's going on here. So we haven't talked about branches yet, and we will get into branches, but for now, we're just going to use one branch. But then we'll see that there can be two different names, like master and main. So GitHub a while ago, like, thought master was like a bad word because it's like master slave. And so then they switched it to main and just made life confusing for all the junior devs. But that's why you'll see master and main. It's because it always was master, and then GitHub's like, oh, we don't want to do it master anymore. But then it's still like by default master. So I don't know. Do you know who owns GitHub?
Isn't it Microsoft?
Yeah, it's Microsoft. It's like, Microsoft, if you really want to help the world, why don't you just donate your trillions of dollars? Anyway, cool. But that's what it is. So if you do want to change, if you do not like the word master, you can come in here and you can change your branch just by doing that git branch dash m main. So now if I wanted to push up, since my branch name is main, I do a git push origin, because that's what I called it here. I called the origin, that's just the alias for this remote. It's called origin. And then I call it main, because that's what I'm pushing up my main branch. So that works. And now it's up on GitHub.
So I'm getting an error. It says failed to push some refs to GitHub, and then it says my name and JS demo.
All right, let's look at that.
Okay.
Main does not match any. So do a git remote dash v
Dash feed.
v.
Oh, VV.
Sorry, do git push origin main. I don't know. Try doing git push origin master. Or do that. Do the git push dash u origin main. See how it says dash u?
Oh, yeah.
Open this up in code. Do you have this project open up in code?
Yeah. It's right here.
What? Okay, so you do have some code in there. Go back to terminal. I don't know. Just do a rm dash r. So do an rm dash r dot git. So what I'm going to have you do is just delete your git. Do a git init. Let's just redo this. So do a maybe do a git add dot. Maybe you forgot to do that. Space dot.
Oops.
And then a git commit. Who's run into this issue before? Really, the git add dot git commit. When I really just want to be able to say make a commit. That's just, what are the two things you need to do to make a commit? Git add dot git commit dash m. So here
Dash
with
M.
the dash, you forgot the dash m.
Mm.
And now you're in Vim. So this is going to be a warning to all of you to never forget the dash m with the message, because you get thrown in Vim because it wants a message. You didn't give it a message. So Vim, this is a text editor within terminal. So you can write code in here, but it's got a little weird way of how to do it. You have to type I to get yourself into insert mode.
Whoops.
You can't use your, and you also can't use your cursor here.
Just that.
Yeah, now you're in insert. See how at the bottom left it says insert?
Yep.
Now you can start typing. Now you can actually type text.
Okay.
Okay. Now you want to save it. This is your commit message.
Save it? What do you mean?
Yeah, save it. You want it because you're making a commit message. So this is like a file, but
Sorry.
how do you save it? Well, you have to get out of insert mode. So you have to hit escape.
Okay.
Okay, now you're out of insert mode, but now you got to go into command mode to save it, which is shift colon. Yep, now you see the colon down at the bottom. Now you
Yep.
can type a command to do like a WQ, which stands for write quit. And now you can hit enter.
Okay. Whew.
So
Okay, so
that
I'm
is what
doing-
happens when you forget the -m flag. And that, but you don't have to commit again because it committed.
Oh, it did. Okay, it went through.
Yeah, since you forgot the so the -m stands for message. It's like, what is your commit message? You
Okay.
have to put a message when you commit. If you don't do the -m, it throws you into Vim. And it
Okay.
says, and then you have to go through all that stuff.
So I have to add the origin again.
Yeah, so add the origin.
There we go. And then
Just do a git push origin master. Now you don't, now it's called main.
There we go.
Okay.
All right.
I bet you if you switched your branch to main, it should still, that still should work. You must have just, I don't know, maybe forgot to add or commit or something.
Yeah, I'll switch it right now. Okay. Sweet. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So let's go through, now that we're getting, like I said, GitHub, how are you feeling with GitHub? Is it just like total like foreign? How do you feel with GitHub? Anyone?
I just think it will take time, at least for me. I don't know about everyone else.
It takes some time. It's kind of like a little, like when you first start learning it, maybe a little mystical, but it's really just kind of a different way to save your work and collaborate. So cool. Well, let's go back. Let's go back to our, oh, I'm not sharing my screen anymore. Cool. Let's go to arrays. So we're really going to like hit arrays. We're going to do a lot with arrays today. And objects. So first of all, let's just kind of do a review, like what is an array? Kind of that first question in that GitHub question list. Does anyone want to try to explain an array to me?
From
It's a
what I
list of
read,
items.
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, it's okay. I was gonna say it's a variable with multiple values.
It's not a variable.
Hmm.
This is, so on the right that I'm highlighting, that's in an array. Nums is a variable that is in an array. But yes, it is a list. That is like, it's just a list of items. But what can it hold? It can hold any type of data in JS. With JavaScript allows you to have mixed matched data in their arrays, which is probably not what you want to do ever, but you can do it. I can have an array with a number, with a string, with an object, with a function, and anything. So I can have an array of mixed match data type. Mismatch data type. I'm going to say, just as a general rule, not a hard rule, but generally don't do this. We'll see some cases where you do want mixed match data, but generally we want our array to be, uniform. Do you get what I mean by that? Like, this is an array of numbers. I should say uniform data. Yay. How do we access an item? Let me give you this little quiz. I'm just going to do all of these. Now, like I said, yesterday, one of the things that's going to start making you a better coder is to try to guess before you run your code what you might get. So what do you think this is going to log?
Number.
Because foo, remember, arrays are 0 index, so we're going to grab the first thing. So this is really just 10, and the type of 10 is a number. What about this one?
String.
Yeah, that's a string.
Object. Function.
Yeah, that's actually going to be a function. Cool, so let's try that. Number, string, object, function. Okay, so let's look at the function one. So once again, I just really want to drill this into your head. 1 + 1. This is really, I see this as 2. It's written as 1 + 1, but when I look at that, I just go, I can just naturally just evaluate that in my head and be like, that is the same thing, right? Those are the exact same thing, right? Those are equivalent. So foo of 3 is a function, right? It's just that function. So can't I just do this? What is that going to be? Or what's that going to do?
You're calling the function that's inside of the array.
Yeah. So I'm going to call that function in this array. And what does that function do? It logs df. Cool. All right. But yeah, let's go to let's go back to this nums array. So for now, we're going to try to just stick with uniform data. And why we like to stick with uniform data for the majority of use cases is because normally, we like to loop through arrays. That's one of the things we really like to do with arrays, is to loop through them, go through each thing and do stuff. So if we have uniform data as we loop through each of them, I know that each thing's going to be a number. And then I can do stuff. So let's see how we can loop through arrays. This was maybe something that was a little struggling with your homework, because we just talked about one quick loop yesterday. So let's talk about a couple. Let's talk about the for loop. I'm going to say this is like a way of doing things. But you will see a use for the for loop. But the one case where you do really need a for loop is, let's say I want to count to 10. So this is how I can do this with a for loop. So here's how a for loop works. So you have a for, and then you have parentheses. And so you need 3 things to set up a for loop. You set up a variable. You're setting up like this index to kind of be kept track of. Then you set up a condition on which to continue the for loop. So I want to count to 10. So I'm going to start this loop off. Let's count from 0. And then I'm going to count up to 9. So we'll count 0 to 9. So that'll be, I'll say it like this. We're going to count from 0 to 9. That is 10 numbers. And then I'm going to do I less than or equal to 9. Because I want to go all the way up to 9. And then I'm going to do I plus plus. So what this does, this is where I start out as. I'm declaring this variable called I. It's starting out as 0. And then as long as I is less than or 9, we're going to execute this block. And then once this block executes, we're going to run this third thing, which is the increment. It's going to change I. So this gets run after every time this block is run. So let's do a console.log I. And there we go, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let me show you another way. Let's say I want to count from 9 down. This might kind of help show what's going on. So I'm going to start at 9. I'm going to say, hey, as long as I is greater than or equal to 0, and then I'm going to do an I minus minus. So subtract 1 from I every time. And then I'll do a console.log here. Let's say counting from 0 to 9. So there we go, counting from 0 to 9, and then counting from 9 to 0. So if you want to count up or you want to count down. What if I want to count by 2s? Let's go from I to 9, and I want to count by 2s. I do I plus equal 2. Zero, 2, 4, 6, 8. So that is the for loop. And like I said, with JavaScript, the one time you'll really want to use this is if you want to do something a certain amount of times. Like I want to do something, 10 times. I can use a for loop. You can use a for loop to go through an array of items. So let's think about sorry, let's think about that. Now I'm going to move this down here. Okay. So I'm going to put my nums array just so we can see it. 20, 30, 40. And I'm going to copy this one. I want you to let's take a second, just instead of me just showing you how to do this. Let's kind of think about what we know about arrays and what we just learned about a for loop. How might I use a for loop to go through each thing in an array and log it?
So if you start with I at 0, which would be the first index of the array, and then the second part, if you do I is less than the length of the array, then once it gets to the end, then it'll stop the for loop.
Yeah, so we leave I at 0 because that can be like our index. And then we go as long as I is less than nums.length. So let's run this. I'm just going to do a console.log just so we can see where we're at. Show me things in the array. Okay, so I'm logging, so we're getting close, right? So we have 0, 1, 2, 3. Those are, I'm counting up to the length of the array, really minus 1 because we start at 0, but there's our 4 things, 0, 1, 2, 3. So now I just need to use that I as my index, and then I can just log nums at I. And now if I run this, now I'm going through each thing in the array with a for loop. I'm going to slack all of these out just so you have it. So that's a for loop. Let me show you what I consider to be a better way to do this. And I think anyone with some coding experience would agree. So I'm going to say this, a better way. And I'm going to delete this since I just slacked that out. I'm still going to have my nums. Okay, a better way to loop over an array. We briefly talked about this yesterday, the for each loop. So I can do nums dot for each, and that will go through each thing in the array. Now I need to pass this a function. That has one parameter. Let me do this like this first. I'm going to write a function. I'm just going to call this log thing. This takes a thing and it just console.logs it. All right, this is a pretty simple function. So I could do a log thing and then I could pass it like yo. I could pass it a number. I could pass it in an array. Undefined is not a function. Let me just comment this out for now. So you see that my log thing method, I just pass it something and it just logs it. Okay, so now let's go to my each function. And I'm going to pass it this function. Remember, in JavaScript, we can have functions that take functions. So what the for each does, the for each loop goes through each thing in the array and calls the function you give it. So I'm going to go through each thing in this array and call this log thing. And then it's going to pass it, since this function has one parameter, the thing is going to be 10. And then the next time it's going to be 20. Then it's going to be 30. Then it's going to be 40. So let's run this. Undefined is not a function.
think you just need to save real quick.
I haven't saved, that is true. And there we go, 10, 20, 30, 40. This, I think this is something that